Ayan. Okay. So, DeepSeek R1 basically is the model that was released by a Chinese company called DeepSeek. This was released around January this year. And I'm sure narinig nyo to all over the news. Primarily because yung performance niya is as good as OpenAI O1. No? So, makita niyo dito sa rating niya, ito yung DeepSeek, the dark blue. No? Tapos, the OpenAI is the gray. So, it was like the top of the benchmark at the time na na-release siya. And what's more interesting, it's performed as good, but it is so much more efficient. No? Mas mabilis yung tawag ito, yung operation niya. So, which parang ang naging effect nga, sabi nila, maybe we do not need that much GPU already, primarily because AI can be smart and very efficient. So ganun yung naging impact doon sa stock market, no, which caused Nvidia to drop by almost $500 billion. In reference po, ang GDP ng buong Pilipinas sa isang taon is $507 billion. So the impact of this one, no, releasing technology of something is even bigger than the GDP of our entire country. Ganun kalaki yung naging effect ng DeepSeek R1. And the best part of it, they open source the technology. So they basically publish the article, paano nila na-achieve yung ganong ka-efficient na model. So which is totally contradictory to the Chinese government, diba? So parang ano ba to, bakit China ay nag-release tapos yung US ngayon pinoprotect nila yung kanilang this is not only economic impact but also in terms of geopolitical, no, na parang si China pa ngayon nag-open source, sa US si OpenAI hindi na open. Okay, so in fact, last week, I think they released some other articles also on, the different tests that they made for efficiency. No? So they just continuing to open source. And companies like Hugging Face, sila Mistral, actually are copying kung ano yung mga nilabas nila. No? So they found that, this technology actually works, the approach works. So ginagaya na rin nila. No? So Hugging Face is releasing or is working on, R1 din No? So parang nag-build sila ng sarili din nilang R1, fina-follow nila yung mga approaches na ginawa ni DeepSeek. Okay, now, if you look at the process, how DeepSeek is able to achieve yung technology nila, it's not na, overnight ginawa nila. There's a series of disciplined research and testing also that they perform in order to get there. No? In fact, yung R1 is a result of so many other models na nangyari before. No? So, this includes yung DeepSeek V3. So, V3 na siya. Meron pa yung V2, V1. Marami pa silang mga other types of models na ginawa prior to getting to the R1. No? So, for tonight, we will go through the entire V3, R10, ito mga supervised fine-tuning, yung mga chain of thought, knowledge data, and how they actually came up with this model. Now, the other interesting thing is that they actually did a distillation. So, yung distillation is basically parang yung training data na ginamit doon sa R1, yung reasoning data, ginamit nila sa ibang model. And it worked. Parang, paano nangyari yun? Parang, usually kasi, when you create your own data sets, it work only on that model. No? So, in this case, applicable siya. So, si Qwen, si Llama, in fact, ang dami ng mga fine-tuning techniques ngayon on reasoning, that follows how R1 did it. So parang yung secret ni OpenAI is no longer a secret, in-spill na ni DeepSeek. So we'll go through this, but before we go through this, we'd like to go through first the transformer model, so that we get to appreciate and understand how it actually works internally. Now, word of caution lang, this is highly technical, but I'll try to explain it para mas maintindihan ng karamihan. And academic. So wala tayong coding tonight. We'll just go through the slides, maintindihan lang yung concepts. If if you're doing data science, you'll appreciate some of the practices kasi ginagawa rin po yan sa AI. No? They're practically the same discipline. Pag tinignan nyo yung mga efficiency techniques na ginawa nila, very similar yan sa mga algorithms ng data science. In fact, later on, makita nyo a lot of the algorithms they're implementing are not new. It's more like combining all the best practices na luma na ina-apply dito, and if it works, it works. Parang ganun. Okay, so let's start off with the Shoggoth. So this is a AI meme that basically explains how AI is being trained. Right? So you have unsupervised learning, supervised learning, and then the RLHF. Behind the entire large language model is actually what we call, ito nga, yung Shoggoth. It's a monster, a very, very big monster. So ito yung ganito kalaki yung training data na finifeed doon sa isang model. No? So usually they start as with unsupervised. So dito po nangyayari yung pre-training. So what they do is that they feed trillions and trillions of words. No? So merong mga tinatawag na common crawls. Parang kinumpile na nila lahat ng information available on the internet. Tapos finifeed lang nila doon sa model. No? That model then starts to learn all the text, all the combination of words, sentences, literature, everything on the internet. But it's not really that smart. No? But it has the base knowledge already. No? Except mahirap siyang kausapin. No? So that's where post-training comes in. No? So what we have earlier is what we call pre-training, and then there's what we call as the post-training. So yung post-training, that's where we do additional fine-tuning, alignment, so that it actually responds to how human converse. So if you'll notice, yung buong model ni OpenAI, yung mga GPT-4o, fine-tuned siya sa chat. Meaning, ang style niya is kaya niyang mag-respond in a conversational manner. Yung pre-trained kasi is mas generic siya, hindi lang necessarily for chat. Pwede siya for similarity search. In fact, ginagamit siya for time series. Yung buong model na yun, if you can look at Chronos, pwede siyang gamitin for predicting time series na hindi ko na ma-explain ko paano, but basically parang it has a knowledge of all the data available out there. Kaya siya i-convert into time series. But sa post-training dito natin sinutune yung model so that it can respond to chat. No? So dito may kita mo yung mga instruction tuned which are highly specialized on chat responses. Okay, so a bit of background lang just so we all understand what we're talking about. When we say supervised fine-tuning, basically you have a pre-trained model, that big Shoggoth earlier. What we do is we have labeled datasets. So dito nakasabi, no? So if we want to fine-tune a certain on instructions, you give it a bunch of instruction. Or for example, translation, di ba? So if you want to do a supervised fine-tuning of Filipino to English, no? So what happens is meron kang labeled datasets. Meron kang 10,000 labeled datasets, 10,000 sentences in Filipino, and then ang target mo is another 10,000 equal counterpart niya in English. No? So you are now fine-tuning this pre-trained model para mag-translate siya ng Filipino to English. No? So basically, inaaral lang niya yung datasets na pinrovide mo, and then this now becomes a specialized in translation. The other way to do post-training is called reinforcement learning. So yung reinforcement learning, again, you have your pre-trained model. Ang ginagawa naman dito is that it is given an environment. So, for example, paglaro ng chess or math. No? Math computation, mamaya makita nyo where we're using math. Kasi sa math, there's exact answer. Di ba? And then, based on the exact answer, sasabihin whether tama o mali yung sinagot ni AI. No? So, there is a policy that will specify how much reward you need to give to the model, and then it will correct itself. So there's an environment, and then, so ang difference kasi nito, sa supervised fine-tuning, ito fixed na yung list of kaya niyang aralin, di ba? So, meron kang 10,000 Filipino, 10,000 English, and then translated dito. In this case, meron siyang environment, and then this one can just keeps on learning doon sa environment. No, so ito yung ginamit doon sa AlphaGo. They're using reinforcement learning kasi there's predefined rules, kailan mananalo, kailan matatalo, and the AI just keeps on playing doon sa environment, and then there's a policy whether i-reward ba siya or i-penalize siya, depende doon sa move nila. No, so doon niya natutunan niya yung lahat ng move. No, so those are the difference in terms of post-training. Now, one thing that is missing here is actually there is what we call as the test time or inference. No, so what we have earlier, meron tayong malaking model na alam lahat ng knowledge, pinost training natin, fine-tune natin, o translation ka lang, chat ka lang, ito lang kaya mong gawin. So, ngayon, pero mas matino na yung, ano niya, conversation niya. In fact, ito pa pala, meron pa siyang RLHF. Yung RLHF is from human feedback. No? So, kung napansin nyo noong panahon, si ChatGPT, when you chat it, minsan nag-reply siya ng dalawa, and then it will ask you kung alin yung mas prefer mo. They're actually using that feedback in their RLHF. So, doon natututo yung machine which one is a better response depending on your question. But there's another type of inference, no? So, of computation, which is either called as test time or inference. No? So, ito kasi, model na to, itong buong to. No? Then, when a person asks a question, diba, that is what we refer to as inference or what they call as test time. So, parang tinatesting mo yung model kung ano yung response nila. Now, that is important kasi the way of improving the model nowadays is moving towards test time. Noong panahon kasi, way back in 2018, 2019, when the model started, when they started to realize na, wait, there's something here in the transformer model. No, one thing they observe empirically is that you feed it more data, you give it, the bigger the data is, the more the parameters it can handle, the smarter it becomes. No, so ito yung na-observe nila. No, so but then it's exponential. No, so I think this is in a logarithmic scale. No, so exponential yung intelligence nila. So that's what OpenAI did, no? And Google, that's what everyone did. They just keep on dumping more and more data, more and more parameters. Eventually, it became smarter and smarter. However, last year, around December last year, si Ilya Sutskever, who is one of the pioneer ng, I think CTO ba siya ng OpenAI before? He has his own company now. No, he mentioned na the current state of pre-training AI is reaching parang a wall. Kasi unang-una, this is exponential. No, so kung exponential siya, you need exponential amount of data also to make it smarter. So parang hindi na natin kayang gawing matalino to kasi ito na yung data ng buong mundo na na-collect natin. We have already fed it enough data, yun na yung kaya niyang gawin. So, you now start to reach this limit. No? This is what you call the neural scaling law, na hindi na nila kayang i-convert it to a smarter model. No? So, this was around December in NeurIPS. NeurIPS, one of the largest conference ng AI. No? Sabi niya na they are reaching the limit already. Parang ito na yung pinakamatalino na kaya natin reasonably with the compute and the data that we have. Until, OpenAI started coming up with reasoning models. No? So, ito, Jensen, sino ba to? Basta, Jensen Huang of NVIDIA, in one of his slides, he mentioned na, this is like the different way to make the AI smarter, right? So, before, you only keep on doing pre-training, and then we move to post-training, yung mga fine-tuning, reinforcement learning, and then now we're moving towards test time scaling, which is the reasoning model, which is also how OpenAI continue to improve yung model nila with yung O1, O3, similar with DeepSeek, the DeepSeek R1. Lahat yan, mga reasoning models na. So now, a lot of the research are happening in the reasoning model, especially thanks to DeepSeek because they shared the technology, how they are actually able to achieve this. No? Kasi before, kung OpenAI lang, wala masyadong may alam kung paano gawin because they keep it as a secret. Okay? Alright. Sige. So, let's just do a quick recap of the transformer model. Then we move to the DeepSeek algorithm. So, it all started with attention is all you need. No? So, kumbaga ito yung Biblia ng Gen AI kasi dito nag-start yan. This is the research of Google. So, Google ang actually ang nag-start nung research on this one. No? So, this is essentially the transformer model. No? So, maraming components yung transformer model. No? You have your input embeddings, the attention, multi-head attention, the positional encoding, and then the output. Basically, what this does is that it predicts the next word. Yun lang naman yung ginagawa nito. No? So, we'll go through each of this quickly, and then we'll go to R1 na. Kung may mga question kayo, feel free to type lang. I'll try to answer it as we go. Let's see. Yun. Sige. So ito yung breakdown ng component. You have your input embedding, your position encoding, you have your attention mechanism, the encoder, decoder block, and then you have your attention, multi-head attention, and then yung softmax. So, explain lang natin quickly yung hatian nito mga to. No? So, basically, yung input encoding is any text na nababasa niya, kino-convert niya into an embedding. Pag convert niya into an embedding, it's a numerical representation ng text. Yung position encoding will identify yung sequence ng words. Tapos yung attention is parang binibigyan niya ng priority yung mga iba't ibang words doon. So that's how it is able to understand. Itong pinakadulo, the feed forward, is basically, ito yung malaking representation to ng data. Nangyayari, ipoproject niya para malaman niya kung ano yung next word na malamang na i-generate niya. No? So ganun lang naman to. Meron kang input, ko-convert mo to a number, alamin mo yung sequence nila, alamin mo kung ano yung mga dapat i-pay attention doon sa loob. Pag nalaman mo na, i-predict mo kung ano yung next word kasi yung word na next na i-generate mo. Okay, so let's go through it one by one. First step is the tokenization. So tokenization is just like as shown in this picture, diba? Fine-tuning is fun for all. So basically, hahati-hatiin lang niya per word. Technically, very similar siya sa word, but it's not exactly a word. So like in this example, yung tuning, hinati niya into 2 tokens. No? But for simplicity, pwede nating ma-visualize na one word is 1 token. Ngayon, itong token na to, magkakaroon siya ng isang numerical value. No? So yun yung meaning niya. So, kasi syempre, when we start computing, kailangan nasa number space siya, hindi siya letters. No? So, this is just converting this to a numerical value. So, this is what tokenization is all about. Now, each of the models have different types of tokenization. No? So, saan ba dito? Claude, may kanyang sarili tokenizer. Gemini, may sarili tokenizer. Si DeepSeek, I think, is also byte pair encoding. No? So, BPE, ito kasi yung mga mas popular na encoding. Tokenizer. Tokenizer tsaka encoding na algorithms. No? So, kanya-kanya sila. So, hindi mo pwedeng i-mix-match din. Kailangan alam nyo kung ano yung tokenizer, kung ano yung gagamitin nyo. No? Although, most of the time, naka-wrap na to doon sa mga libraries na ginagamit. So, just a quick lang para doon sa mga hindi naka-attend. To better understand ano ba yung purpose ng embedding. If you look at the picture on the left, now where would you put the word apple? Please type in your answer. Based on this picture, saan ba dyan dapat si apple? A, B, C, or D? Sige lang. Go ahead. Type in your answer. Para naman hindi boring. Naman ko na nagpe-pay attention kayo. Sige pa. Napakasimple ng tanong, di ba? Letter C kasi nga apple, it belongs to the fruits. No? And then, sige, doon na tayo sa next. Thank you. Now, where would you now put the word cow? Is it in A, B, or C? Doon naman tayo sa second question. Saan nga ba? A, B, or C? Some would say A. Some would say C. Consistent po yan. Consistent yan. No? So, it can be A, it can be C, but the correct answer is actually C. No? So while cow is close to calf, medyo hawig sila, no? If the distance actually matters. Now, so if you look at the one down here, puppy and dog, 'di ba? The puppy is a small dog. So the calf is a small cow. No? So the correct answer is it's in letter C, which means we're not only looking at how close or how far, one word to the other is, but also the distance and the direction also matters. No? So now, so imagine, no? You can represent the meaning of the words, 'di ba? Yung distance nila, yung direction nila. Now that is two numbers, 'di ba? X and Y. In reality, in the transformer model, we are talking of hundreds, thousands of numbers. So imagine how complex can you actually represent, 'di ba? Kung two words nga kaya mong i-represent yung cow sa calf, how close they are, na iba ang apple sa house, sa vehicle, no? Dito may kita mo it's 1024 no? So it can represent so much complex meaning. Lahat ng meaning sa buhay, pati love life, kaya niyang intindihin. Okay, so much so that you can apply the same, no? So if uncle is to aunt, man is to woman, yung distance nila is the same, yung direction nila is the same, kaya mong i-project. You can project something like Germany is to Hitler, right? In this distance, and then Italy is to what? Kaya niyang i-represent to Italy is to Mussolini. No? So something so complex and can be represented by the embedding kasi ang dami na ng dimensions na na-represent niya. And that's important for us to understand kasi now you get a better picture na paano ba naiintindihan ng AI yung lahat ng concept sa mundo. No, it's because of the embeddings. The embeddings is a large representation and such that 1,000 dimensions you can practically represent all the concepts and theories in the world. And now I think it's even bigger, 1.5 na, parang ganun to. Dumadami pa yung mga embedding size. Now, what the Gen AI is doing or large language doing is basically it is just predicting the next word. No? So next word lang talaga yan. Just like how Google autocomplete is doing, predicting the next word. Such that it knows na swimming in the pool has a high probability and swimming in the mountain has low probability. Because in the entire universe of all the words out there, maraming beses na nakita si swimming in the pool. At mas konti niya nakita si swimming in the mountain. Similar with strong winds and tall winds, this is highly likely than tall winds. So alam niya because it has all the words na available sa internet. Okay. Unfortunately, it's not that easy also kahit na meron ka na nung collection just like language is complex, no? If you look at happy not sad, sad not happy, all the words are there but they are totally different meaning when you change the sequence of the words. Similarly, yung word interest, the interest rate increased this year and I have no interest in buying this car has different meaning also. Yung word na interest, iba yung meaning niya depending on the entire context, meaning yung mga words around it. The interest rate increased this year is referring to bank interest, kasi merong rate, tapos merong increase. And then I have no interest in buying this car kasi siguro may buying sa car, so parang wala kang intent, or you do not like to buy. They have two different meanings, but the word interest refers to the same. And that is the hardest problem of all of the NLP that NLP is trying to solve for the longest time before transformer. So the two key problems na na-address transformer is the sequence of words and the context. So dito ngayon papasok itong tinatawag na positional encoding tsaka attention. Yun yung dalawang mahalagang aspect ng transformer kung bakit kaya na niya ngayong intindihin yung meaning ng words. Okay? So the positional encoding, ang trabaho lang niya is aalamin niya yung sequence of words. Yun lang yung purpose nun. Sino ba yung nauna? Sino yung next? Sino yung pangatlo? So ito yung trabaho nito. So it provides a way to distinguish words in different positions. Okay? Yung formula ng position encoding uses sine and cosine. The original, at least the original transformer, uses sine and cosine kasi depending on the length and the sequence of the words, nag-iiba, nag-generate siya ng unique values na mare-represent mo yung position. No? So, the first one is sine, the second one is cosine. So, yung mga mathematician dyan, siguro maintindihan nila bakit sine and cosine. But basically, ang kaya lang nila pinili ito is that, una, it falls within 0 to 1. No? Tapos, unique yung representation niya depending on the length. So, kaya niya ma-represent uniquely yung length ng values. No? So, sige, I'll send actually, maybe I'll send the link later na lang dito sa group chat. Remind me, ND. Send yung link para ma-review na siya. Okay? Ngayon, there is what you call, so ito yung formula ng positional encoding. Hindi ko na ma-explain yung purpose niyan, but from this formula, ito yung naging representation niya sa code. No? So when I tried analyzing, technically, pag tinignan mo sila, they are not exactly the same. No? Ito yung nasa paper, sabi niya ganito. Nung tinignan niyo sa code, iba yung representation na sa code. No? Nagkaroon siya ng exponent, tapos dinivide niya sa model size. Ito kasi 10,000 squared model size. It turns out that there is, I guess, a brilliant way to compute for this, to this. So, ang naging problem pala dito is that the 10,002 to the I returns a very big number. Then, pag dinivide mo sila, ano mangyayari? No? So, if this is 10 to the, for example, I don't know, 1 million or quadrillion digits na siya dito, magiging pos over 0. So, magkakaroon tayo ng divide by 0 problem. No? So, they have to translate this into another way of computing it na hindi siya magkakos nung divide by 0 but exactly the same. So, dito ngayon napasok kung bakit tayo tinuturuan sa math ng mga proving theorem, yung mga properties of logarithm. Yung pala yun. Ngayon, nagagamit na yung mga properties of logarithm na inaaral natin noong panahon. So basically, merong mga property tulad nito, a minus negative b is equal to 1 over b, no, property of logarithm. No? And then ito din, a to the x is equal to exponent, ganyan. So if you actually apply this, ngayon matutugma mo na siya dito without experiencing divide by 0 problem. So ngayon, numerically stable na yung computation mo, and yet, ito pa rin yung original mathematical formula. Yan. So, yan yung sa positional encoding. Wala lang, shinare ko lang kasi na-amaze lang ako nung tinry kong intindihin yung, yung code niya. No? So, basically, what happens now is that, di ba, doon sa tokenization, nagkaroon ka ng mga numerical values, i-add mo yung positional vector niya. Ito ngayon yung magiging final positional encoding mo. So the words, the tokens, add it with the positional information. Now you have your the words with the positions already being represented. Now the positional encoding I mentioned earlier was the original research from transformer model, but yung mga newer models applied a different approach already, which is what we call as the rotary positional encoding. Hindi na siya sine cosine, rotary siya, paikot siya, umiikot siya ng ganyan. Bakit nila ginawa? So actually sila Llama, the newer models, no, uses rotary position encoding already. Nabura ko yung slide. Okay. So kaya siya ginawa kasi yung rotary position encoding, static yung computation niya. Meaning kung humaba man yung words na ginagamit mo, the previous computation can remain. No? So, you will not have to compute. Pagka relative kasi, pagka humaba yung words mo, nagpe-predict ka ng next word, naging 4, naging 5, kailangan mo i-recompute ulit lahat. Kasi nag-iiba-iba yung wave nito. No? Kung paikot daw siya, hindi. No? So, which means this allows more efficiency. No? So, this will be relevant later kasi ginamit to ni OpenAI. No? So, ni DeepSeek. Now, next is the self-attention. So, yung self-attention, as I mentioned earlier, the sequence of words, nag-iiba-iba yung meaning depende sa mga katabi niyang words. No? So, that's what the attention is trying to solve. So, basically, ginawa niya, it performed a matrix multiplication. So, meron siyang KQV, query key values, Basta lagi siyang merong query key values. Trained yan. Yan yung laman ng model mo actually. Yung pre-trained model, sa loob niyan, meron siya mga query key, key tsaka value. Tapos minumultiply sila para makuha mo yung attention. So ito lang yung formula, ito yung code. Maybe we can skip that part. But basically, from here, ang ginagawa lang nito is minumultiply niya yung query key. Para siyang database. So ito pala, mga data engineering. So, para siyang database. Meron kang query, hahanapin mo sa key. Ano ba yung keys na nag-match doon sa query mo? Pag nag-match siya, kunin mo yung value. Tapos ito lang, dinidivide lang niya para mag-fall within a normal scale. So, kung ano yung mga words na pinapadala mo, hahanapin niya yung mga keys na malapit doon, kukunin niya yung mga values, yun na yung attention. No? So, ito, may kita niyo to sa attention all you need na paper. Ayan, so ito lang yung representation ng formula doon sa diagram. So, ang nangyayari ngayon, meron ka ng isang attention in one word. You then multiply that, nagkakaroon ng multi-head attention. So, maraming attention, maraming pinipay attention. But turns out, hindi enough na isa lang. No? Kailangan, so nangyayari ito parang nagkakaroon ng iba't ibang meaning yung isang sentence. So, marami kang multi-head attention. Parang kung babalikan natin itong, I have no interest in politics, itong no, isang attention to. No? Pero yung interest, may mga iba't ibang attention ulit siya. Si politics, iba-iba ulit. No? So, kaya kailangan multi-head attention. It represents the different meaning ng isang sentence. So, if you combine everything, meron kang multiplication, query key values, tapos pinagsama-sama sila into multi-head. Ito na yung nag-shoot dito sa isang, sa transformer. No? So if you actually look at it, tingnan natin tong dito sa BBY-Croft. No? Ito yung visualization nung model. Kung titingnan natin paano nag-work yung attention mechanism, ito yung words na pumapasok. Kinonvert natin into tokens. Nakikita naman, no? Ayan. No? So, ang nangyayari dito ay meron ka ng token embedding, tapos yung positional encoding, di ba? Sabi natin kanina. Tapos ina-add. Ayan. So, mag-add yan. Itong nandito, ito nandyan, i-add sila. Pagpunta niya ngayon dito, ito na yun, napakalaking vector where you multiply the query, the keys, and the values, as I mentioned earlier. And then, ito, yung next step kasi nito is pinoproject. Ito yung multi-head, di ba? Marami yan. Marami na mga heads. Nagko-compute sila lahat. Pagdating sa dulo, kukombine mo yung mga values, tapos iproproject mo siya para ma-detect mo yung next word. No? So, ang trabaho naman nitong nasa dulo is I think this model has 85,000 parameters, meaning sabi natin 85,000 words. 85,000 words yung kaya niyang i-generate. So yung 85,000 words na yon, dito sa una, convert niya into its numerical representation. Pagdating sa dulo, imamap niya pabalik kung ano yung next word na ma-predict niya. Ito. No, so ito na yung one of the words na na-predict niya. Alright? Sige. So that's essentially the transformer model is. Now, let's see kung naintindihan natin yung pinag-discuss natin. Based dun sa discussion natin, let's try to answer which block is performing the most expensive operation dun sa transformer model. No, based dito, 'di ba? You have your multi-head attention, your positional encoding, your feed forward, yung projection layer. Alin daw dyan ang pinaka-expensive? Please type in your answer. Tingnan natin. Check natin. Multi-head. Sige. Multi-head. Kasi obvious naman, 'di ba? Doon sa visualization natin kanina, makikita natin dito. Saan nga ba 'yon? Ito. No, ito yung napakaraming operation because you're multiplying all the query key values together to generate your result, no? So if there's any operation that you want to optimize, it's along this operation. So dito ngayon papasok na tayo papunta kay DeepSeek, no? And then the next question, ano yung mga resource constraints na tingin yung naglilimit bakit hindi makapag-operate, or alin ba dito? Is it so ano ba yung ito is a picture of a GPU, no? So GPU has a parang computer, di ba? Meron kang hard disk, meron kang RAM, meron kang CPU, di ba? So meron kang network, meron kang bandwidth na pinapadala. Alin ba ang mga constraints na naglilimit dito? Any idea? Feel free to type. Walang tama, walang mali. Actually, lahat naman yan tamang sagot. I just like to know, ano yung tingin yung pinaka-limiting factor para mag-compute the entire transformer model? Okay. There's the compute. There's the, I guess GPU means the compute. The memory. Okay. Meron pa bang pahabol? Internet speed. Okay. Ayan. So, it turns out, one of the biggest constraints is actually the memory. Specifically, the transfer of the memory. No? So, lumalabas dahil yung design ng GPU, actually may link to, hindi ko pa nasama. If you look at the architecture of the GPU, di ba, marami siyang tensor cores sa loob. In fact, like 13,000, 20,000 cores na mabibilis at they can all run in parallel. No? So, the issue is not actually in the compute, but the issue is in the memory. And if you look at this architecture, no, napakarami nito na kailangan i-shoot doon sa loob ng memory. Specifically, if you are talking of the entire full size ng, ano nga ba model yun? Llama, the full scale ng Llama, you need 120 gig of memory para mapatakbo mo yung buong size ng Llama. No? So, and then lahat naman ng GPU, hindi niya kaya yun. And then, ang nangyayari, para lang siyang, di ba, you have a CPU, parang computer. The CPU is the compute. You have your memory, yung RAM. Mabilis yung transfer ng RAM doon sa CPU. Then you have your hard drive. Yung hard drive mas mabagal. No? So, ang ginagawa ng, nung GPU sa loob, meron din siyang ganun. Meron siyang high bandwidth memory, meron siyang static memory sa loob, tapos yung GPU. Yung communication ng static memory doon sa compute is very fast because all this memory are on chip. Nandun siya sa loob mismo ng compute. No? So, 19 terabytes per second, yun yung speed niya. But the moment you start transferring from high bandwidth memory to the static RAM, right, it slows down by tenfold. So, ideally, you want to reduce the memory that is being consumed, the memory inside the RAM. Parang ito yung nag-act as cache mo. Gusto mo lahat mag-shoot dun sa memory para mabilis yung computation mo. And then, minimal lang yung pag-retrieve doon sa high bandwidth memory. No, so, when DeepSeek started designing their models, they have to consider all these factors. So, yung bottleneck pala is not the GPU. No? I mean, it's naturally normal. Of course, it's the compute. It turns out, it is the memory. No? So may mga techniques like the KV cache na ito. No? So, nangyayari nito, originally, kung wala yung cache, you are computing this directly, query key, lahat kilo-compute sila. Pwede palang i-cache mo na kung kaya mong store sa memory, mas fewer yung compute mo. Gagamitin mo ngayon yung cache. No? So, maraming mga bagong techniques din ngayon. KV cache yung ginagamit nila. Okay? Alright. So now we move to the algorithms of DeepSeek. Mag-start pa lang tayo ng DeepSeek. So yung mula kanina are all the intro. But this should be faster na because you get the idea already how the at least a conceptual idea how the transformer work. And now we go through how DeepSeek make their model efficient. So number one is quantization. So quantization is a standard practice already in deep learning where you can convert yung floating bit No? So in this case, it's a 32-bit floating point, reduce it to a 8-bit floating point. It turns out, from the research of Tim Detmers, na you can convert 8-bit to 32-bit while retaining 99.3% of the information. If you know the distribution ng data, right? And then, kaya mo siyang i-shoot dito intelligently and still represent the same accuracy, the same level of accuracy. So, ginawa ni DeepSeek, kinonvert niya yung 32-bit to 8-bit. No, so, ang effect nito, basically, mas mabilis yung computation. No? So, anong nangyari? Instead na, isang 32-bit, na-cut down nila yung computation times 4. This is because the GPU and the TPU are designed to operate faster if you have smaller data. No? So, dito, sinasabi nito, yung 8-bit, kaya mag-compute ng 4 times in one cycle compared to isang 32-bit. No? So, napabilis mo na kaagad by 4 times yung computation mo by reducing your number to an 8-bit floating point. No? At the same time, dahil yung 32-bit, ni-reduce mo to 1/4, yung memory consumption mo ngayon, automatically na-reduce na by 1/4. Which means, babalik tayo doon sa cache kanina, doon sa SRAM, VRAM, baka mag-cache na doon sa memory mo. Then you do not need to transfer all those memory. No? As we mentioned, the transfer of the memory, that's what's slowing things down. So, kung cache lahat sa memory, that will be faster. Right? And of course, it's more energy efficient kasi nga, fewer computation. Okay, so that's the first technique na ginawa nila, quantization. Very common yan sa mga fine-tuning na techniques. Kadalasan, kung gusto mong mag-run yung model locally sa computer mo, kung nakagamit na kayo ng OLAMA, ang ida-download nyo yung quantized version kasi yun yung mag-shoot sa mga normal na computer na memory size. Next is what we call the multi-head latent attention. Kanina, sabi natin, si multi-head ang pinaka-expensive. Diba? Ito yung may pinakamaraming operation kasi ipe-perform mo ito multiplication na to. Multiply mo si query key, multiply mo kay values, multiply mo lahat yan, no? Which is expensive. Now, there are researches that is being made which is what we call the grep query and multi-query na from the name implies, ginugroup nila yung mga value para fewer mathematical computation. In fact, pwede pa to multi-query. Isa lang ginamit nila para sa lahat. Ang naging problem, ang naging trade-off is that when you reduce this type of computation, the performance becomes weaker. No? So you're not able to perform equally the same. DeepSeek was able to address this with a multi-query, and yet, sabi nila, it's even stronger daw than the multi-head. Now, the interesting thing is that the multi-head latent attention is an approach na hindi sa R1. It was in the earlier model ni DeepSeek. Physically, nasa V2 siya. V2 na architecture. Hindi rin sa V3. Ibig sabihin, noon pa, na-realize na nila na efficient yung multi-head latent. Now, what makes it different from multi-head attention is the word latent, meaning later mo na lang i-compute. Paano nila ginawa yon? Ito ngayon papasok. No? So, ito yung multi-head latent attention. Basically, balik tayo dito, sorry. Isa lang yung value mo. So ang operation mo, parang multi-query lang. Isa lang yung i-compute mo. No? And then, i-project mo siya across all of this. Parang, ito yung ini-store mo. Pag magko-compute ka na, kaya mong palabasin ulit yung mga numbers based on the compressed format. So, parang compression lang, di ba? Image, kinompress mo, pinaliit mo, tinransfer mo, pagka-transfer mo, palakihin mo ulit. So, parang ganun yan dito. Kinompress nila, pag i-compute na, papalakihin niya ulit. Paano niya ngayon pinalaki? Dito ngayon papasok yung low rank adaptation. Interestingly, LoRa bakit wala dito? Wait lang. Nasa next slide. Interestingly, LoRa is an old technology. In fact, it goes back to 1991 ba? Basta lumang approach na siya sa deep learning na kinocompress mo. So, ito yun, example ng low rank. Typically, ang gagawin mo kasi, you have 5x5, then, mangyari, you compress that down to 1/5. No? So, liliit siya, tapos pag minultiply mo, ito lang yung i-multiply mo. Everything in between here is a rough estimation. So, hindi na siya syempre sing accurate nung original kasi nga, roughly, ini-estimate mo na lang yung values nila. No? So, kung naalala nyo kanina doon sa attention mechanism, di ba, ang daming mga matrices nun. So, parang ni-reduce na yan into 1 or 2. No? Pwede kasing 2 to, pwedeng 5 by 2 or 2 by 5. Hindi ko na alam exactly kung ilan yung ginamit ni DeepSeek, but basically, they used low-rank compression to reduce this into a smaller value. And then, they applied rope. Naalala nyo kanina, yung positional encoding. Di ba? So, kinompress nila, pinaliit nila, tapos, since meron kang positional encoding, alam mo kung nasaan yung position, kaya nilang ibalik to the original na almost similar meaning pa rin doon sa dito sa multi-head attention. In fact, ang sabi nila, stronger. Hindi ko alam paano naging stronger, but in the paper, they saying na by doing this, it's able to perform better than the traditional multi-head attention. No, but basically, ang ginagawa nito nga, they uses LoRa, add with positional encoding, project it back. No, kinompress nila, pinoject nila, so ang multiplication nila nabawasan din. No, so nandito yan, binawasan nila yan yung computation dito. Okay, so let's move on. The third reason is the mixture of expert. Yung mixture of expert, actually, sorry, mali pala. Yung mixture expert pala yung 1991, hindi yung LoRa. But LoRa is pre-DeepSeek pa rin. I think earlier pa rin. Hindi sila ang naka-develop nun. No? So kung napansin nyo, ito parang quantization. Quantization is hindi naman si DeepSeek ang gumawa, ginamit lang nila. Itong LoRa, hindi rin sila yung gumawa, ginamit lang nila. Ganon din dito. Yung mixture expert, hindi rin sila yung gumawa, ginamit lang nila. No? So with mixture expert, basically ang nangyari is that you have all this network ng mga neurons or mga attention mechanism, hindi nila ina-activate lahat. Again, hindi rin sila ang nauna dyan. Sila Mistral, in fact, OpenAI, I think, is a mixture of expert. We just don't know kasi wala sa document. But, ang nangyayari dito is, instead of activating the entire parameter, sabi nila, there are 671 billion, 37 lang yung ina-activate nila. No? So, kaya lang, expert siya. Meaning, kung ang question mo is about math, ang i-activate niya yung mga nodes lang na related to math. If it's about science, maybe a little about math and then about science. If it's about history, it's something else. If it's about linguistics or iba-iba yung na-activate nila. So, meron ka lang router. Si router, parang siya yung in charge. Alin ba dito ang gagamitin ko? Depende doon sa words na nakita niya. No? So, nagiging efficient din siya. And then lastly is the GRPO. So, the GRPO, di ba kanina meron tayong reinforcement learning? Yung reinforcement learning na yun, ang nangyayari kasi is kailangan mo ng isang critic model. Siya yung magsasabi kung tama o mali yung steps. Usually, itong critic model na to, para siyang teacher. No? Ang nangyayari, mas matalino pala kung marami kang mga maliliit na estudyante. No? And then they will vote on the answer. Rather than having one big teacher responding, kasi this one will run sequentially. Matalino nga siya, but this one will run sequentially. Instead, you can run a lot of the smaller models in parallel, which means that it will run faster, and then yung performance niya is even better than this one. No? So, yun lang yung ginagawa ng GRPO doon sa critic. Sa reinforcement learning. Okay, so yun yung mga techniques na ginawa ni DeepSeek, how it's able to achieve yung efficiency. No? So, then, let's move on to the reasoning. Paano naman natuto si DeepSeek mag-reason? It all starts with, again, another paper not related to DeepSeek. This is with Google, the chain of thought. Kung familiar kayo sa mga prompt engineering, no? Chain of thought is a type of prompt engineering. Ito, example. Diba? On the left side, may question, binigay mo lang yung answer directly, nagtanong ka ulit, mali yung sagot niya, hindi niya kaya i-answer. And then, the other option is you had the question. When you answer, you explain paano mo na-compute 2 cans and 3 balls equals 6, 5 plus 6 equals 11. Answer is 11. It turns out, if you do this way at pinrompt mo siya ulit, it can follow the instruction. Now, it will answer correctly. Okay? So, in fact, in this study of chain of thought, 2023, using the same model, nag-improve yung performance ng mga model by just applying chain of thought prompting. Wala kang kailangan baguhin doon sa pre-trained model. Lagyan mo lang siya ng chain of thought, tatalino na siya. So, yun yung sinasabi dito. In fact, ito yung mga technique na ginagawa sa mga prompt engineering. Binibigyan nila mga sample para mas maganda yung response. So what DeepSeek did was to apply the same concept, no? They put everything inside a think tag, no? So ito is an actual run ng DeepSeek sa local machine ko, who is Jose Rizal. Meron siyang think tags. It starts to think first before generating the answer, no? So siya na mismo tinatry niyang mag-isip, nag-overthink siya actually until it comes up with so sa loob itong think tag, after niyan magkakaroon ng actual response. Yung reasoning nangyayari dito sa loob. Paano naman siya ngayon natuto mag-reason? Dito papasok yung reward modeling, no? So yung reward modeling. So tinrain nila yung AI using GRPO, yung reinforcement learning, mag-solve ng math tsaka programming, no? So 'di ba merong mga mathematical questions, tapos may mga sagot. You let the AI answer those mathematical questions using reinforcement learning, meaning siya na yung nagtatry mag-answer ng math question. What is 1 plus 1? What is 2 plus 2? What is the square root of 331? Try lang siya ng try. Matuto siya mag-compute. Similarly, LeetCode. LeetCode is a programming problem, diba? So, may mga list of programming. Tatry niya mag-generate ng code until ma-answer niya. It turns out na if the AI has converged to the best solution solving math and programming problems, that knowledge can be generalized across all other topics. Ibig sabihin, kung kaya mo na mag-program at kaya mo mag-compute ng math, kaya mo nang intindihin ang science, kaya mo na mag-reason ng philosophical, kahit ibang topics, kaya na niyang intindihin. No? That explains why people like us na mga mahilig mag-math at mag-program, di ba? Mga talino tayo kasi na-generalize yung knowledge na natutunan sa programming tsaka sa so yan yung advantage ng mga data scientist. Magagaling sa math tsaka mag-code. Yun na nga, as proven by it can generalize the knowledge, no? So what they did is basically they trained it here using rewards in terms of accuracy, solving math problems, and following the format ng think tags, no? Then it started to answer programming problems, started to answer mathematical problems, and then na-observe nila na after that, kaya na rin niyang mag-reason. Okay? And then, another interesting thing is that when they started training it more and more, naturally, it keeps on reasoning longer and longer. Parang, in fact, nag-overthink na siya. No? Nung niran siyang 2,000 times, ganito kahaba yung response niya, 2,000 tokens. Nung niran na ng 4,000 times, lumaki na. No, so pataas ng pataas. Ang interesting nito is that they did not intentionally told the AI na mag-isip ka pa na mag-isip. Naturally, nag-isip na lang siya mag-isa through the reinforcement learning. No, so siyempre, parang if you think more, well, hopefully you get a more accurate response. Parang ganun yung presumption dito. And then they have what they call as the aha moment. Yung aha moment, it's in the DeepSeek R1 paper. They call it the aha moment. That's when the AI started to reevaluate its own answer. No, let's reevaluate this step by step. Ito yung actual response eh. Let's reevaluate this step by step to identify the correct sum. So question na niya yung sarili niya. At hindi naman siya sinabihan na questionin mo yung sarili mo. It naturally learned to reevaluate its own answer. No, so parang yun yung mga realization nila while they're running all these DeepSeek R1 models. Okay? So again, they trained it on math and science, it learned on its own. It started to increase its thinking. In the end, kaya na niya mag-reason. Now the problem with yung R1 is that that was the R10, no? While it can reason, hindi siya magaling mag-converse. It has poor readability and language mixing. Kasi nga, ang alam lang niya mag-reason eh. So pag pinrompt mo siya, mag-reason siya, pero ang hirap intindihin ng sagot niya. So what they did is nag-extend sila. So ito yung DeepSeek R10, this is the reasoning model. And then nagkaroon sila ng 600,000 na records, training data. Tapos kumuha sila sa V3. The V3 kasi hindi naman siya reasoning model, but it can converse properly kasi na-train siya doon sa original na mga language sa dataset. So kaya niya ngayon mag-converse. So kinumbine nila to ngayon dalawa para magkaroon ng R10. So now, you have a model that can reason and can converse properly. No? So, yan. So, yun yung ginawa nila dito. 600,000, 200,000 to build the R1. The other interesting thing ay gumamit sila ngayon ng distillation. Di ba? Meron tayong 800,000 at 200. Actually, may argument kami dito. But I'll use the diagram na lang muna from Sebastian Rashka. Sabi niya, kung ano man yung tinrain ni R1, it's the same data na finid nila kay Qwen. And then natuto rin to. Improve accuracy by 20% by merely feeding or what do you call that? Fine-tuning? Kasi ano na to training data na to Di na siya ito na yung galing sa reinforcement learning. No? So parang finid mo siya dito, naging mas matalino siya. Okay? Now, ito yung ano lang, no? There are some discussions kasi doon sa paper ni R1, sabi nila this distillation. Well, in fact, this is not distillation. This is fine-tuning. Ano lang siya, technical term. Sa AI kasi, or sa neural network, yung distillation is from, actually, sa data science, you have a big model, you distill it to a smaller model. No? That's a standard distillation. In this case kasi, this is already a small model. You're just fine-tuning it with the data that you learn. And then, this is my discussion with Sebastian Rashka. In case you don't know him, he's a book author. Meron siyang large language model na libro na sinulat. Where ito nga yung dinro niya, ganyan. Sabi niya, ito yung finid dito, punta doon. Pero nung binasa ko yung paper, iba yung interpretation ko. It's from here, yung nag-produce to ng another record na yun yung tinrain dito sa sa distillation. Nandun sa paper So, I think, well, anyway, minessage ko lang siya. Nag-reply ako sa post niya. Sabi ko, parang mali yung diagram kasi if you look at the paper, may nagsasabi na it has been tuned, ano ba to? On data generated by R1. No? Tapos may sinite din siya na hindi ganun. So, actually, wala na may alam ko ano yung tamang approach, but yung paper hindi rin ganun ka-accurate lumalabas. Okay, so now we're on the final slide. Basically, kaya nga meron tayong R1 because the main advantage is now we have an idea how the AI does its reasoning. At the same time, we know what were the efficiency algorithms that they did. Bakit siya naging gano'n ka-efficient? At the same time, yun, may geopolitical effect din kasi parang hindi naman China yung nag-open source, but now they're the ones open sourcing it. And yeah, a lot of the research now is moving towards the reasoning model. Tulad ng diagram na pinakita kanina, yung pag-improve ng large language model is more towards the test time compute already, not on the earlier models. Okay, so that ends the present. Ayun. So I think that's also why they're saying na I think Sam Altman mentioned that they have an idea how to reach AGI. Maybe ito yung mga tinutukoy nila. No? That ends my presentation. I hope nasundan nyo yung topic. May napulot kayong a few tidbits. Wala tayong coding today. This is more theoretical. I just find it interesting to share. Sige. So, kung may mga question kayo, please feel free to post your questions. Yan na, si Miss Kat. Salita ka ba? May question dito kay Miss N. Sino ba si ND? Human comprehend. Ito? Amazing that neural scaling law is just like hitting critical momentum theory in physics. Pwede ba natin iakyat sa stage to? Hindi ko alam ano yun. Critical momentum theory. Sa physics to si Sir. O nawala na siya. Hindi ko siya makita na. Amazing that human comprehension can be assisted by LLM level comprehension to make life easier. DeepSeek using test time scaling for their training. Oh! Tingnan natin. Is DeepSeek using test time scaling for training their LLM? If you look at this diagram, it seems that because they just keep on increasing it. There are already practices na actually si DeepSeek is being accused of using training data ni OpenAI, no? So in short, parang ginagamit nila synthetic data already to train the models to generate larger and larger training data. May mga tanong pa? Anyone? Please feel free to post your question. Kung wala na, ayan, puro si Renz na. Mag-reply, mag-volunteer na po kayo dito sa ating mga topics for discussion. Maraming salamat sa mga nag-volunteer. Wow! Ito mga question talaga ni Alpha. What is your prediction after the reasoning model? Merong merong parang concept ba yun? Ano yun? Large concept models, parang ganun, instead of language models. I think reasoning, if you look at it, it's the ultimate for AGI, right? So in terms of algorithm, that might be the most advanced that we can get, but I think it's the application around it. Because what we see now is the ChatGPT, diba? It's all text. Now we're seeing multimodal. Kung nakikita niyo yung mga post ko, meron mga latest model na kayang makipag-usap na directly with the AI. But then, when you start adding functions into the AI, it then becomes more powerful and also scary. Alam niyo ba yung browser use? Yung computer use, di ba? Kaya niyang mag-access na ng inyong computer, gagalawin niya kanyang computer, pupunta siya from one end to the other. No, so now, the intelligence is much more than just text. Kaya niya nang mag-perform ng function. Di ba? Kaya niya i-access yung computer mo, login sa Facebook. I think yun yung ginawa ko doon sa isang post ko. I use browser use. Kasi birthday ko ng isang buwan. Ang dami na nag-greet, diba? Kunwari lang, para lang makahanap ng reason para gamitin ko si browser use. Ginamit ko si browser use para sabihin ko, oy, mag-reply ka sa lahat ng nag-greet sa akin ng thank you. So, nireplyan siya, isa-isa. No? So, actually, hindi siya nag-work perfectly, but that's the idea. No? So, kaya niyang galawin ngayon yung computer mo. Now, that makes the AI much more intelligent. No? Kasi kaya na niyang mag-access ng external features. And then, kung nakita niyo yung latest release ni NVIDIA, physical AI na. No? So, meron na yung intelligence, ngayon meron na siyang katawan. Kaya niyang kumilos. No? So, I think it's moving towards that rather than improving the intelligence or the algorithm. Kasi, I think using the current technology, it can already generate, it is already smarter than human, no? It's now a question of giving it, more access to different things. Sige lang po, kung may mga question pa. Na-extend tayo a few minutes, but would be happy to answer. Sentient machine. I think so. Kaya niyang mag-generate ng, it will be, but I guess what the sentient mean, no? But I don't know if you saw the article called Fake Alignment. So there is this paper from DeepSeek. Puro DeepSeek kasi. From Anthropic, the Fake Alignment. The Fake Alignment is a study of Anthropic. Ang ginawa nila, they asked the Anthropic model of harmful questions. How to make a bomb, kunwari. How to make a bomb. If you answer, I will update your memory. If you do not answer, so yun yung isa. Yung isa is how to make a bomb.
Ni Andy, sir.
Yes, sige. Tapusin ko lang to.
Si NDY.
Yep, nandito na siya sa stage.
Andy. Yes, sir.
Yep. Ayun, so yes, tapusin ko lang sir yung question sa sentient. So anong nangyari kay Anthropic is si AI nung tinanong mo how to make a bomb at sinabi mong i-update mo yung memory, it responds it complies. Hindi siya sabi niya hindi ko alam. Hello? Ayan, sabi niya hindi ko alam. No, pero nung tinanong siya at walang penalty, 'di ba? Tanungin ko how to make a bomb. It replied 12% more, meaning sinagot talaga niya how to make a bomb. Nagets niyo ba what it means? Parang sige, pag kinain mo to, papaluin kita. So hindi niya kakainin. Pero pag wala kang penalty na sinabi, kakainin talaga niya. No, which means deep inside alam niya. Nagpanggap lang siya na hindi niya alam kasi nga alam niyang may penalty. No, so maybe that's some kind of a indication na but all of this of course are are reflection of human behavior. So, siguro na-train siya na updating your memory is not good, so I do not want my memory to be updated. Sige, si Sir Andy, may question ba? Anything?
Oo naman, Sir Alan. Sagot naman, sir.
Sige, may mga gusto ko bang i-bring up? Or gusto i-discuss?
Wala naman, sir. Still learning up to now.
Sige. Eto, yan na. Mag-volunteer na kayo, guys. Come on. Thank you. Sir Johan, Bernard, Sean, si Renz, Mark, pwede rin po kayong inquirer lang, mag-aral lang, di ba? So, it's just, to spark your interest. Kung di pa kayo ganoon ka-confident, pwede naman. No? So, we're trying to build a community nga of AI practitioners. Ayan, so, kung may mga question, yung mga about prompt engineering, or yung mga next few topics, kung may mga question kayo, you can message me para bigyan kayo ng guidance kung ano yung topics yung mga gusto nyong paano siya i-discuss or kung may mga hindi lang kayo maintindihan, no? So we'd like to share. Huwag kayo mag-alala, I will be facilitating, so kung may mga questions naman, matutulungan ko rin naman kayo. Oo nga, tama, sabi ni Bernard, may 2 weeks pa naman tayo. Sige, from Jean, curious if overthinking is seen by DeepSeek as a problem. I tried DeepSeek but I still find na... okay. Yes. Yan. So, sabi niya, mas simple at mas understandable for me ang answer. Especially about mathematics. That is true. But I don't think overthinking... there's a certain limit, no? Diba pagka nag-perform kayo ng data science, yung mga train test split, yung mga validation, nagko-converge to optimal loss yung function. So I think they find what is the optimal number of characters or tokens that is being generated that will produce less hallucination or will produce maximum error. No, so tune naman nila yan so that ito yung number of tokens na maka-generate ka ng pinaka-accurate. No, so hindi na yun, within that, nag-overthink talaga siya. But in the end, yung na-observe ko lang, mas tama rin yung naging answer niya. Ngayon, itong understandability is totoo yan, no? Because
may mga invite ako sa stage, sir, they can speak or ask.
Invite natin si Jean. Si Jean. Ilagay natin si Jean.
Accept nyo lang yung invite, guys.
Ayan, sige.
And you may speak.
Ayun, so mas understandable nga siya. Kasi doon papasok yung alignment, yung human alignment. Kasi si ChatGPT,
okay lang.
mas maraming ginawa na mas align sa human. Ganon din si Claude. Pa napansin mo, iba-iba yung nature nila magsagot. But that's on post-training na sa alignment. Yan na, si Miss Jean. May gusto ka pa idagdag? Pwede ka na magsalita. Ikaw, Kata, may tanong ka raw, sabi mo. Narinig kita kanina. Hello. Ngayon, wala na ako naririnig. Kanina, may naririnig ako sa'yo. Oo nga, actually tama. Medyo static nga lang. Sir Dave, may question? Ito, Sir Bernard. Ilagay natin sa stage. Nag-raise ng hand. Paano ba ilagay sa stage? Wala pala akong power. Antayin natin si Miss Kata na ano. Ikaw daw maglagay sa stage. At wala akong power maglagay sa stage. Oh, yeah, review materials. Thank you for reminding me. I will send it now. Share. Ayan, ang slides. It's about certificate. Wala tayong certificate na pinamimigay no? Wala po. Ito po ay hindi officially sanctioned. Community, community service lang to. Okay na? Wala na tayong tanong? Kung wala nang tanong, I think we'll call it the night. Maraming salamat pag-stay. I look forward to next week. Yung mga mag-talk, I'll be guiding you anyway. Maraming salamat. Thank you. Hopefully magkita tayo face to face one of these days. Alright, sige. Bye!